One of the reasons I started doing these videos is because I love that part on the map where it says, "Here be dragons." It's the same instinct that I had as a kid, being taken to a video store by my parents and just drifting through the aisles, randomly picking things off the shelves, usually something that caught my eye because of its cover or title. Of course, those innocent excursions have mutated into something less than wholesome, usually something involving Rhys Ifans discussing his semen samples. And then, of course, there is... The good news, for me at least, is that I'm increasingly finding things which show enormous promise. One of these is 2010's Blood and Roses, which is the debut feature by director Simon Aitken. Blood and Roses is a vampire film with strong romantic overtones, and given the time of its release, it is easy to draw superficial comparisons with the Twilight franchise. There is, however, the important difference that Twilight was created by chimpanzees who had emerged from Quaalude withdrawal with very sinister ideas about love and relationships. That's not to say that the relationships at the centre of Blood and Roses aren't destructive. They certainly are, but they're destructive in very different ways. Jane, played by Scottish actress Marisa Kay, is the fulcrum of Blood and Roses. She's the point around which everything revolves. On the one hand, she's being followed by a vampire called Seth, who, remarkably for this sort of film, doesn't actually really involve himself in the events that much. He's more of a shadowy presence in the background who occasionally moves in to jolt the plot forward. The primary focus of Blood and Roses is between Jane and her husband Martin, played by actor Kane John Scott. We need to be very, very clear about this. Martin is possibly the least sympathetic leading man I've ever encountered, and I've seen E.T. Martin is essentially a textbook sociopath. He's also entirely lacking in empathy, which is really unfortunate for Jane because she's actually recovering from a sexual assault. He's self-centered, he's egomaniacal. He is douchebag prime.
Martin.
Yeah?
I don't want to do this.
If you don't want to do it, Jane, then why did you come down here in the first place, huh?
It's just too soon.
You what, Jane? Please explain it to me.
It'll be okay. I need some more time. I just understand.
Well, maybe I don't understand. Did you ever think about that? I don't understand.
It would actually be entirely possible for me to make a separate video just about how much of a cunt this guy is.
I can't believe you. I can't fucking believe you.
Sorry, Martin.
Do you see that? Do you even know what help means? Honestly, I don't even know why I'd bother.
This sense of loathing is actually crucial to one of the main successes of Blood and Roses, and it's counterbalanced perfectly by Marisa Kay's performance as Jane. For half of the film, she's very meek and vulnerable, and Martin exploits this to the extreme.
Do you want me to get you a plaster?
Cunt.
What was that? Martin?
He basically has an idea in his head about who she should be and how she should act towards him. But while his bullying is primarily emotional and psychological, he's not the only one preying on her. And this is one thing that I really liked about Blood and Roses, was that it managed to explore various forms of exploitation. Ted, played by Adam Bamborough, is one of Martin's closest friends, and he's also Jane's doctor. And it's later revealed in the film that he has very, very sinister designs. And then, of course, there's Seth, played by Benjamin Green. Seth, in some ways, is the most sympathetic character besides Jane. He's the one who turns her, and during her transformation, she becomes stronger and able to stand up to Martin, and able to avenge everything which has happened to her. But ultimately, Seth is lonely, having had to kill one of his previous lovers, and so again, he's exploiting her. He's changing her into what he wants her to be, so that he doesn't have to be alone anymore.
Hello, Martin. Your wife is leaving with me.
Tone is possibly this film's greatest strength. Initially, the film is quite flat, almost bland, and gradually, as Jane begins to transform, things burst more into colour. It becomes much more gothic and interesting. Marissa Kay's portrayal of Jane perfectly matches that. She is a complete doormat, she is a complete mouse initially, before she later becomes this grandiose predator.
Stop this at once!
Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you. The old Jane, the one you could push and boss around, is long, long gone, I'm afraid.
Alice.
While the tone of the film is well worthy of praise, there are some glaring faults in Blood and Roses. The most obvious one is the dialogue. A lot of it is very stilted.
So how's things, Ted?
Oh, up to my eyes in the thick as usual.
Well, that can't be at all pleasant, can it?
Comes with the territory. Anyway, where's that lovely wife of yours?
Well, you know Jane. She likes to hide like a fox. Which reminds me.
Oh, don't tell me you're still worried about foxes.
In terms of casting, Adam Bamber brings nothing to the table as Ted. He's far too dour and anonymous. And in some ways this is kind of tied to a fault in the script. I think Ted should have been much more sunnier. He should have been a much more exciting and engaging character. This would have made his reveal at the end that much more shocking. And also it would have just added a bit more spice to the entire ensemble. That being said, Aitken was definitely onto something with Kane John Scott, who really hasn't done much before or since Blood and Roses. He really, really does bring this awful, awful human being to life.
Ted, she trades on her beauty. Okay, that's what she does. And every day that goes by, she loses a little piece of that. And what's there going to be left?
You tell me.
That's just it. I don't know if I like it.
And of course, the absolute gem of this story is Marisa Kay. This is actually pretty surprising to me because she was in The Scarecrow, which some of you may recall ended up on my Worst I Watched 2015 list. Stick 2 fingers up your ass as you start to get crispy. Blood and Roses is definitely a freshman effort, but it's a learning experience which shows real promise, and I'm really looking forward to what these guys are going to do next. There are a lot of filmmakers out there whose work have found homes on sites like Vimeo. It's well worth looking into this because there is such a variety of films out there, and it's so exciting that producers and directors and writers are going to be able to be seen by such a wide range of people. It's something we should definitely support. And so with that in mind, a good place to start is Blood and Roses. That's my main recommendation for now. There will be more coming. So until then, have a good one.